Washington County, Clackamas County, and Yamhill County Board of Commissioners to fill a vacancy for Senate District 13 due to the passing of Senator Aaron Woods. Clerk Moss, could you take roll call, please?
Yes, certainly, Madam Chair. We'll start with Yamhill County. Chair Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner King.
Here.
Clackamas County. Chair Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
I will keep my eye out for Commissioner West. So Commissioner Willie.
Here.
Commissioner Fye. Can you hear us, Commissioner Fye? I know she's going to try to join back.
I'm here. So I couldn't find the. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Yes. Vice Chair Treese.
Here.
Chair Harrington.
Here. Well, thank you.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
I'm here. I'm here too. I wasn't called.
Oh, my apologies, Commissioner Snyder.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I know you all have busy schedules, but yet again, we have more important business to do together. So pursuant to ORS 171.060 sub 1 and OAR 165-010-0060, County Commissioners were notified of the vacancy for Senate District 13 on April 22nd of this year, 2025. The Democratic Party Precinct Committee persons of State Senate District 13 met and chose nominees to fill the vacancy. The nominees chosen are David Backen, Courtney Neron, and Jeanette Shaw. Thank you to the three of you for joining us this evening. We, as the appointing authority, are here tonight to appoint one person from the list of nominees. The vacancy must be filled no later than May 19th, 2025, 30 days after the vacancy occurred. I, Catherine Harrington, elected chair of the Washington County Board of Commissioners, have been asked to chair this meeting by the Oregon Secretary of State office. The process of today's meeting will be as follows. First, we'll have an opportunity to hear from members of the public regarding the nominees. We'll follow that with opening statements from each of the nominees. After that, questions from commissioners, and finally, closing comments from the nominees before deliberations and a vote by county commissioners. We have staff here to support our meeting, Washington County Clerk to the Board, Kevin Moss, and County Counsel Courtney Duke Dreesen for Washington County. Clerk Moss has already taken the role this evening for each of our county commissions. But just to check in, Clerk Moss, have we had any new additions?
We have Commissioner West. Welcome, Commissioner West.
Thank you for having me.
Terrific. Thanks for joining us. So at this juncture, I just want to reiterate that we have a packet for tonight's meeting that included the agenda as well as a map for Senate District 13. And now it's time for public comment. We ask everyone to keep your comments to 1 minute, and Clerk Moss will be displaying a countdown clock as well. So thank you, Clerk Moss. And at this juncture, would you please ask if anyone has any comments regarding any of the three nominees before us?
Yes, thank you, Chair Harrington. And I'll just keep the time on it because we only have one camera for our live stream tonight. First up, we have Jennifer Constantine. Jennifer, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead for up to a minute.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Constantine, an educator living in Wilsonville, and I'm here tonight in support of Representative Courtney Neron's appointment to Senator Woods' Senate seat. Representative Neron is both the logical choice and the best choice. She's the logical choice because our new senator needs to hit the ground running for the last 2 months of the current legislative session. Neron knows the ropes, she's forged relationships, and can pick up where Senator Woods left off. She is also the best choice. Representative Neron is a teacher, and teachers are underrepresented in the Senate. As a teacher myself, I know the issues we are facing in education in Oregon are many and varied, and especially fraught with the increasing uncertainty from Washington, D.C. Representative Neron understands policy and budgets and will focus on how our state can best support teachers, families, and students now and into the future. And this is but one facet of her strengths. The depth and breadth of her background knowledge and work ethic makes Courtney Neron the right choice. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we have Julie Fitzgerald. Julie, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go up to 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners and chairs. I very much appreciate your time. I am honored to be able to testify in support of selecting and naming Representative Courtney Neron to this critical position, filling the vacancy created by the passing of Senator Aaron Woods. And without repeating what the previous caller said, I would just add some other highlights. I had the opportunity to work with Representative Neron for 4 years when I served as the elected mayor of City of Wilsonville, ending in December of 2024, and that went through the pandemic and all of the related challenges. And I very much appreciate her attention to the unique needs of cities and also people who live near our cities and unincorporated areas who need to and want to make use of our libraries and also need to access the important county resources for health and human services. She was a great partner with our city and our neighbors in helping this be a great place to live, and also in working with other state leaders in the I think she is definitely the best choice to fill this important position at this time and in the future. Thank you.
Fitzgerald. All right, next we have Remy Drabkin. Remy, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead for up to 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair Harrington, members of the Washington, Clackamas, and Yamhill County Commissions. My name is Remy Drabkin. I'm the former mayor of McMinnville and a 14-year veteran of public service. And I'm testifying in support of Representative Courtney Neron to receive the Senate District 13 appointment because she is thoughtful, diligent, and holds herself to a high standard of government accountability. When the Housing Oregon Workforce Bill, one of only 3 bills regarding housing to pass out of last session, was under consideration, Representative Neron took the time to fully understand the legislation and its implications. Her questions reflected a real commitment to informed policy and results. She brings that same care to education and has offered balanced representation even to the small number of Yamhill County residents in Parrot Mountain. Senate District 13 would be well served by her leadership.
Thank you, Remy. Next, we have Megan Vidal. Megan, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you can. Please go ahead for up to 1 minute.
Great. My name is Megan Vidal, and I live in Wilsonville, Oregon, and I'm a Westland-Wilsonville School Board member and in healthcare administration at Randall Children's Hospital. Courtney's role as a chair of the House Education Committee and her representation in the House for 4 terms make her a very unique candidate for this position. She not only lives in Clackamas County, but she grew up in Washington County and really knows what our families, businesses, and communities need. I hope you select Courtney Neron for the Senate District 13 position tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Megan. Next, we have Betty Reynolds. Betty, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. Please go ahead for up to 1 minute.
I said, good evening. I'm Betty Reynolds, live in West Lynn, and I lived in Wilsonville for many years. I served on the Westland-Wilsonville School Board for 8 years as president of Oregon School Boards Association and on the Clackamas Community College Board. It's an honor to endorse Courtney Neron. As representative, she is a champion for education from early childhood through college. She works tirelessly and is very accessible to her constituents. We all miss Senator Woods. I stepped aside from my seat on the Clackamas Community College Board and recruited Aaron Woods to fill the seat. He was a strong advocate for workforce development and career and technical education. When he ran for Senate District 13, I worked extensively on his campaign and know he continued those values. Representative Neron and Senator Woods work closely together. The boundaries of the districts are very similar. They shared values and appeared together at many constituent events. Representative Neron will hit the ground running, and she will perpetuate their shared values and her tireless advocacy for her constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Next, we have Yi Kang King Hu. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Yiken Hu. I live in Senate District 13, and I currently serve as a Tiger City Councilor. I have had the privilege of working with both Representative Neron and my fellow Councilor Shaw for over 2 years. I consider them both friends and dedicated public servants who really care deeply about our community, and they have really worked hard to address the present issues that we all face. While both of them are impressive leaders, and I only have a minute, so I don't have time to list every accomplishment, we really need someone who can hit the ground running on day one in the Senate, especially with only 52 days left in the current legislative session. For that reason, I strongly support Representative Courtney Neron for this appointment. Thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Cuff. Stephanie, can you hear us? Stephanie, are you able to unmute?
Hi,
There
yes.
you go.
Hi, Stefani Cuff, the pronunciation, but hello, thank you for this opportunity. And thank you, commissioners. My name is Stefani Cuff, and I actually live in Portland, Oregon. I was a programs director at Fourth, and I'm here to support Jeanette Shaw. I worked closely with her at Fourth. She was our policy director. And Fourth is a local nonprofit in Oregon that's centered around electrifying transportation by bringing people together. And we do a lot of policy and barriers to access work. I'm trying to condense it down to 1 minute here so I can say about all the awesome things I know about Jeanette. I can speak about how we work together, and I can speak to her character. She's done significant policy work for us around transportation, economic development, and workforce development, not just in Oregon, but across the nation. She is an awesome human being. She's culturally responsive. She's solutions oriented and goes above and beyond for the people she cares about and also for the causes she cares about, which fortunately for us is centered around advocating for most vulnerable folks and reducing barriers for people in Oregon. She really is the people's champ and knows a lot about policy and makes it really digestible for people like me. And I think she would add a lot of value to this role.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ginger Finch. Ginger?
Commissioners, this is Ginger Fitch. I reside in the district and in Representative Courtney Neron's district currently. Just yesterday, I ran into Representative Neron at the library, and she didn't hesitate to pause, speak with me, to circle back on an issue that we've discussed in the past. And I also heard her speak about other people in ways that were respectful and that treated them with dignity. She's responsive to her constituents. She has a sharp intellect. She has ability to identify barriers and systemic pieces of the puzzle when she's working through a problem. She's an out-of-the-box thinker, in my opinion. She's a hard worker who's focused on helping her constituent needs rather than taking the limelight. She'd be an excellent resource for all constituents in Senate District 13, and I would ask you to appoint her to fill the position of the late Senator Woods.
Thank you very much. Is there any other person who would like to provide comment that hasn't gotten an opportunity? I'll just give you just 1 moment to raise hands there. We have 3 hands left, and then we will move 4 hands, and then we will move on. So these will be the final 4 people. So first we have Gabe R. Gabe, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is Heather Robbins. I forgot that my son is logged into this. So this is Heather Robbins. I did sign up to speak. Thank you, Chair Harrington and esteemed commissioners, for allowing me to speak on this important decision. Again, my name is Heather Robbins. I work as a PA at Adventist Health Portland. I serve on Tigard City Council, and I am also president-elect of the Oregon Society of Physician Associates. My comments today are my own opinion, not representing any of the groups I participate in. I greatly respect both Representative Neron and Councillor Shaw. The choice for Senate District 13 representative is vital to ensure Tigard's voice is heard in Salem. Given this, I would like to respectfully request you appoint Tigard City Councilor Jeanette Shaw. Councilor Shaw and I work collaboratively together on housing, infrastructure, transportation, and regional economic development. Jeanette's deep expertise across a range of issues are critical to the City of Tigard and Senate District 13. I have found her to be consistently prepared, willing to discuss issues, educate others when possible, and work towards solutions. I believe she will get up to speed and be able to work effectively for the remainder of the current session. Appointing Jeanette Shaw will ensure Senate District 13 is well represented in the values and issues Senator Aaron Woods championed through his career.
Thank you, Ms. Robbins.
Thank you.
Next, we have a person from the Northwest Labor Council. Can you give us our name, and then you'll have 1 minute?
Oh, hi, I'm sorry. This is Madison Walters. I'm from UFCW 555. I also didn't check which Zoom I was logged into. Excuse me. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Madison Walters. I'm a political liaison of UFCW Local 555, representing workers in grocery, retail, food processing, and healthcare. Commissioners, my members and I urge your support for Representative Courtney Neron for SD 13. She is experienced, dedicated, and the best prepared candidate to jump into this role in the middle of an historically demanding legislative session. We commend Rep. Neron for her leadership in Salem, her strong communication skills, and her open door policy. Regardless of whether we agree on a bill, Rep. Neron always strives to hear both sides of a debate and has always been candid in her decision-making process. Even though we may not always have her vote, we know we'll be able to discuss policy and often come to a resolution to the benefit of all. Rep. Neron has won re-election in hard-fought campaigns that demonstrate her commitment to her constituents and to the work of being a legislator. UFCW has full confidence in Rep. Neron to represent SD 13 fairly and thoughtfully. Thank you for your consideration tonight, and we strongly urge your support.
Thank you. Next, we have Dave Mulk. Dave, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you for having me. I'm going to start at the end just in case I get cut off. With due respect to all candidates, I can think of no one more qualified and prepared for a seat in the state Senate than Representative Courtney Neron. Her commitment to her role as a state legislator of her district is highly commendable. I'd like to briefly share something she did behind the scenes that shows how she collaborates with other leaders in the district. Though not on the Transportation Committee, Representative Neron convened a meeting with Congresswoman Salinas focusing on the need for federal funding for the Boone Bridge replacement. Wilsonville's new mayor agreed to host the meeting with a small group of interested parties, including the late Senator Woods. She was the leader calling these officials together, and along with Wilsonville's delegation, shared how the seismic instability of the I-5 Boone Bridge is a major concern for the economic viability of not only her district, the region, the strait, the West Coast, and beyond. It was a big lift regarding a complex subject. Representative Neron's initiative and presence in chairing this meeting was highly consequential for the Boone Bridge seismic replacement to move forward. I thank you very much and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. And our last one, Madam Chair, is Mary Brazel. Mary, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Great. Well, I'm here today to enthusiastically share my support for Jeanette Shaw to become Oregon's next senator for Senate District 13. Jeanette is very well positioned to continue the legacy of Senator Woods in transportation, technology, economic development, and community services. I've known Jeanette personally and professionally for over 8 years, and I'm familiar with her work to continuously build strong communities with affordable housing, smart transportation options, environmental benefits, and economic development and workforce development opportunities for all. She listens, builds consensus, communicates well, and gets things done. Her experience in public policy and government relations for Forth, as city councilor for Tigard, and in the private sector in technology and other fields enables Jeanette to bring a rare combination of expertise, collaboration, and perspective to the position of state senator. Jeanette lives out her commitment to service by being kind and helping others in need, whether it's promoting or volunteering at the community warehouse, or supporting Just Compassion Resource Center, or supporting development of new low-income housing, like Viewfinder Apartments in Tigard, or helping people in need to find a job, to look for work, like I was. 7 years ago, Jeanette was extremely giving of her time and transportation knowledge when I was seeking employment within Oregon and within transportation.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right. Madam Chair, that completes all the ones that we have signed up for this evening.
Yep, I'm off mute. Great. Well, I want to say thank you to, by my count, we had 12 people who offered up their comments this evening. So that's grand. All right, well, now it's time to hear from each candidate, starting with open remarks. And we will follow the order from our candidates, David Backen first, followed by Courtney Neron, and then Jeanette Shaw. And Clerk Moss, I do believe we have a time for this section, right? For the opening remarks?
Yes, we have 2 minutes for opening remarks from each candidate.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Mr. Backen, would you like to start us off, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks all for being here. I know it's an evening meeting and we all have lots of meetings during the day, so I appreciate you being here. My name is Dave Backen. I am a small business owner. I own a consulting firm in the energy industry. In fact, I started out at Pacific Power and worked at the same time as Pam Treese. It's good to see you, Pam. It's been a long time. While Oregon is in a better place than most states, I have decided I can no longer sit on the sidelines and watch what is going on in our country. And therefore, I decided this was a good place to get involved. It's my first step in doing that on the political stage, although I have been elected, as I will say. I'm not going to say much now. I've served as a PCP. I've been elected twice to school board, and I've served my industry by being elected to board of director positions 4 separate times. With all that said, I believe that Courtney Neron is the right candidate for this position, and I would not stand in her way, and I will give her my full support in this. I just don't believe there's a better candidate right now than Courtney. So I'm going to support her, and that's what I would have to say. I'm not going away. I'm still going to pursue political agendas, political causes. So I will stick around, but right now I'm going to support Courtney. Thank you.
Thank you for your engagement.
Madam Chair, before we move on to the next one, Commissioner Sterrett has joined us. So welcome, Commissioner Sterrett.
Thank you. I've been on as an attendee. For some reason, it did not promote me, so here I am.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm glad you joined us. Thank you, and I hope you had the opportunity to hear a bunch of the public comment that we had. So really appreciate it. Thank you. And so we're in the opening remarks section for our candidates. So next we'll move to Courtney Neron.
Thank you so much, commissioners. Before anything else, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I also want to recognize the loss that we're feeling in the passing of Senator Aaron Woods. He brought heart and leadership and a deep commitment to service, and it is with respect for his legacy and a clear sense of duty that I come before you today. I am a fourth-term state representative, a former educator, and a lifelong member of these communities. I grew up in Metzger. I graduated from Tigard High School, taught in Tigard Tualatin and Yamhill Carlton Public Schools, and now I'm raising my family in Wilsonville. These are not just places on a map to me, they are and have been home, and I am working hard, and I've worked hard to make sure that our state government delivers for the people who live here. I believe our best ideas matter most when they translate into results on the ground, and I've delivered on legislation that strengthens our workforce pipeline, invests in education, funds infrastructure projects, and supports our businesses. I've helped secure major investments from broadband expansion and pedestrian safety to housing and public health, because I know that budgets are moral documents and they should reflect the real needs of our communities. As an educator and the chair of the House Education Committee, I am acutely aware of systems that are asked to do more with less. Our recent conversations that we've had, I've heard from each of you about concerns about unfunded mandates at the county level. And I've worked to make sure that state policies come with dollars and clarity needed to implement them effectively. I will continue to do this kind of work. If appointed, I'll bring the same balanced, focused leadership to the Senate, rooted in values, informed by experience, and guided by the belief that government must not only aspire to do good, but it must follow through and do well. I look forward to our conversation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Jeanette Shaw.
Good evening, and thank you, commissioners. As mentioned, my name is Jeanette Shaw, and I'm a 17-year resident of Senate District 13, a mom and a member of the Tigard City Council. And thank you for this opportunity. First, I do want to acknowledge the passing of Senator Aaron Woods. As best I can, I hope to continue his leadership in advancing transportation, economic and workforce development, climate action, and technology innovation, all areas where I know I can definitely hit the ground running. I've spent decades in senior leadership positions in the semiconductor industry, in agricultural and technology trade associations, in a nonprofit advancing climate and equitable clean transportation projects, and as a business owner and as a legislative staffer. Most recently, as a Tigard City Council, I have led the way on the adoption of a small business development assistance fund, advocated for a climate action plan focused on reducing emissions, securing infrastructure, creating a more sustainable and resilient community, championed the implementation of a new and efficient software platform, and helped pass successful public safety levy and a modernized new Tigard City Charter. And I'm honored to be supported by Tigard City Councilors Jake Schlack, Heather Robbins, Tualatin Mayor Frank Bubenek, Council President Valerie Platt, Fourth Executive Director Jeff Allen, Senior Program Director Stefani Kuff, who you heard from this evening, as well as collaborative partners such as Jebco Properties and Commercial Employers, IBEW, UA290, and a number of chambers of commerces and many other community members who will be ready to hit the ground running with me. I look forward to your questions, and thank you.
Thank you very much to each of our candidates. So next we'll move on for questions from commissioners for our candidates. And we will alternate through both the county commissions as well as through the candidates. So we'll start, whoops, sorry. I had a timer set. Sorry, folks. We'll start for commissioners with Washington County, and then with the candidates, we'll start with Mr. Becken. So do any Washington County commissioners wish up? Commissioner Fye has her hand raised. Go ahead, Commissioner Fye. You'll ask the first question of Mr. Becken.
Thank you, Chair Harrington, and thank you to all the three candidates. I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know about you all, so wonderful to meet you all and to see you again. My question, we've been doing this appointment for quite some time now, And I think it's fair to ask the same questions because you're all are heading to the same building. And I think it's beneficial to hear what, potential colleagues that you're going to work with, the questions that they've been asked. So I asked a similar question to Senator Reynolds when she was here, the same positions you all are in. So, and this is, it's about civil liberties and the dynamics it's unfolding at the national level. And I just want to know what oomph do you bring to our state to fight for civil liberties and to protect?
Thank you, Commissioner. I am a full supporter of all civil liberties. I am a proud supporter of the ACLU, and I believe that all peoples should be given the same rights. And I'm sorry to witness what goes on and all the civil liberties that are being taken away from people. But I mean, I don't think that, if you talk to anybody that knows me, I don't think you'll find a stronger supporter of equal rights for all. And so I think I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Batkin. And next we'll move on with Clackamas County asking the next question, and the candidate will be Courtney Neron. And Commissioner West, the question is yours.
Congratulations to all of the candidates. Thank you for putting your hat in the ring once again. Senator was my senator, and he was a great man, and I enjoyed working with him. And I thank you for everyone taking some time to acknowledge his passing. And with that, I have the honor to field the question to my state representative, Courtney Neron. And Courtney and I got elected the same year in 2018 and have been friends. And she has been very accessible. And so you know a lot of the issues that are prominent in Clackamas County and in the region. And the one that I am most engaged in and we have worked together on is supportive housing services, and the supportive housing services tax, and how we help those that are struggling with homelessness, substance abuse disorder, behavioral issues. Can you speak a little bit to some of the unique things going on at the county level, or maybe even the Clackamas County, and then also around the recovery campus and your thoughts around that, and how we can get some of this infrastructure established and built and up and running that's necessary to provide the care continuum to get the people the care that they need to no longer have to struggle with this, with being homeless or these different causations. So I was wondering if you could speak to that and also speak to the recovery campus and what you know about it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And just so that I understand, each of us are only answering one question? We don't answer all of the questions tonight? Oh, interesting. Okay. So thank you, Commissioner West, for the question. Yes, I am very interested in making sure that the supportive housing services gets the funding it needs. I'm advocating for House Bill 3644 in addition, that is in Ways and Means and would appropriate $200 million. Over $200 million to supportive housing services. But at the county level, I think the work that you all are doing is really important, that we look at how can we stabilize community members? How can we make sure that we're wrapping around and really making sure there's a bridge to stable housing? You had multiple parts to your question. I think you asked about the recovery campus as well. I'm very supportive of the recovery campus work that the county is prioritizing. And in my work with the Clackamas Caucus, we are, discussing what our priorities will be as we advocate for Ways and Means. I absolutely intend to make sure that we elevate that particular ask so that the recovery campus can be successful this session. We know it's urgently needed, and we know that the community would benefit greatly. There's similar work happening in Washington County, where I have a bill to make sure that one of our facilities in Washington County qualifies for Measure 110 dollars. So I'm leading on that effort to make sure that we have supportive work for recovery. I believe everyone can that recovery is possible, and that we need to make sure that we are providing opportunities throughout Oregon. And the county is at the forefront of some of that public health and behavioral health and human services work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Yamhill County. Which Yamhill County Commissioner would like to ask a question? Go ahead, Commissioner Sterrett, and this question will go to Jeanette Shaw.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that. Commissioner, where is Jeanette? I can't see her. I just wanted to get a picture of her so I could talk to her personally. Anyway, thank you all for stepping up to be considered for this position. A couple of things we're facing at the county level is obviously unfunded mandates. I was very happy to hear Representative Courtney Neron talk about the importance of addressing those unfunded mandates at the county level. So in terms of what we're facing, for instance, there's a bill in the Oregon legislature right now being considered, Senate Bill 243, which would be about a $15 million price tag statewide and $500,000 to Yamhill County. It's restrictive, more gun regulations, but it would really put a big burden on our local sheriff's offices. We don't have the money, and yet we're going to be asked to fund this. Would you break with the majority party, with your party, if there was information that came to you about the necessity for local governments to basically ask you to stand down on a bill that's being pushed by your party? We just don't have the money for it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sterrett. Absolutely. Coming from local government, from city government, unfunded mandates put an undue burden both on our cities and on our counties. And at a time we see fiscal instability, not only just internationally, nationally, but also here in Oregon, I believe if we're going to be having mandates that they need to be funded at the state level, if it's not a priority for funding, then it shouldn't be funded.
Thank you.
All righty. So we'll stick with the candidate order. And next, Clackamas County. Is there a commissioner who would like to ask a question of Mr. Backen, Dave Backen? Go ahead, Commissioner Savis. Oops, where'd he go? There he is. Oops, you're on mute, I think.
Thank you. I did not realize that we're unable to maybe ask the question and get a response from each of the candidates, but I will go with the flow. Clackamas County is obviously majority of it is part of it is neighbors this district, and also we're also neighbors from a number of your districts, your colleagues, potentially at the state legislature. I appreciate the kind comments towards Senator Woods. I didn't know him very well, but I did work with him and have discussions with him during the tolling. I will call it a debacle, if you will. And what we discovered, and I think he discovered as well, is that while some people who drafted the legislation to consider and study tolling, I think a lot of presumption was that there was adequate transit in Clackamas County, and therefore we ought to take that alternative as opposed to driving our cars into that one section of all 205 where it's only 2 lanes, where the remainder of the system is 3 lanes. Anyhow, we have a lot of spillage, a lot of accidents, a lot of diversion because of that bottleneck. But my main question is transit. We discovered through a lot of work that the structures, whether it's the stiff STIF funding or whether it is the traditional employer paid tax funding, that Clackamas County and some of the outskirts of Washington County don't seem to get their really fair share of transit investments. And with the recent news that TriMet might be cutting back on service because they are having financial difficulties, I would just like to know, what can you propose or suggest to help areas deprived, whether it's Washington County or Clackamas County, deprived in transit, get a lift so we can actually solve a lot of problems in our transportation system?
A very good question. I think transportation and all the issues surrounding it are important, and they're critical. And I don't think there's an easy answer to this question because transportation or TriMet or others comes with funding needs, and we don't have funding. We have funding problems in this state and in counties and in cities. And so we have to find a way to fund it. I don't think tolling was the right way, but I don't know enough about it to be able to say one way or the other. I'm a novice at that. But I think we do have to find a way to fund transportation as well as housing and homelessness, climate, all those different solutions or different issues that face us today. I do believe in equality across the board. Now, how you maintain equal distribution of funding, of transportation funding to each county and each part of each county, because some, like Clackamas County, I live in Clackamas County, it's huge. And there are a lot of different areas of Clackamas County. So I don't think there's a great answer to this. I don't think I would bring anything specific other than to talk about how are we going to fund these things. And you have to put transit along with all the other important issues or issues that are important to the citizens of Oregon and to the district, to SD 13. And you're going to get many different answers, but we got to come together. We got to figure out a way to do it. So it's working together and collaborating to try to figure out not only transit, but these other things that the other issues that are happening and how to keep the federal government out of our business. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, we're asking the questions tonight, so your answers are just fine. Next, is there a Yamhill County Commissioner who would like to ask a question of Courtney Neron?
Kit Johnston, Yamhill County Commissioner, would like to ask.
Go for it.
What does your support look like for the Senate bill and the House bill that's going through that will lift the cap on the funding for our county fairgrounds? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Johnston. I'm actually a sponsor of that bill. I can't recall the bill number. I think it's really important that we invest in our county fairgrounds as resiliency hubs. And we saw during the wildfire seasons, we've seen multiple years in a row, how important those county fairgrounds are. We need to make sure that we're able to rebuild or build strong structures, make sure that the horses, sheep, the animals in the area are able to be evacuated to fairgrounds, as well as use fairgrounds for staging, for resiliency operations. I think fairgrounds are really the heart of a community, and we need to make sure that we lift that. It's outdated, and I'm hopeful that we can invest significantly in our fairgrounds in the years to come.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Washington County. Is there a commissioner who would like to ask a question of Jeanette Shaw? Go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for running this meeting. I appreciate all of the candidates being here. My question to Councillor Shaw is, given the fact that Oregon is such a trade-dependent state, we are at risk in relationship to tariffs that are being imposed throughout the business community. What steps would you take as a senator to address that issue?
Thank you, Commissioner Treese. Tariffs are very harmful to the state of Oregon, both from the technology aspect, because most of our chips are exported, and because of that, the cost of those chips going into components, whether it's cell phones or computers, is going to significantly raise the cost, as is building, and it's vital for our infrastructure. We are talking about new housing, we are talking about new affordable housing, we're talking about new bridges, we're talking about new county courthouses. All those infrastructure need to be built, and they cannot be built with the tariff increased the actual products that are coming from other countries. And so what we need to do is really ensure we can streamline the amount of processes that are coming through and the products that are coming through, make sure we could be more efficient in our building, and in turn look locally. We have a lot of building supplies here in Oregon, so we can ensure that our infrastructure is built with not only just local supplies, but also local labor. And so to me, that would be vital, is ensuring that we not only work locally and ensure that our products are being utilized with local products, but then also work with our congressional members and ensure that from an international perspective, that tariffs are exempted from products that Oregon is developing, whether it's semiconductors, well, whether it's auto manufacturing components, or even vital components that go into manufacturing processes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I saw your hand there, Commissioner Snyder, so I've noted that. Next, Yamhill County, you're up first for asking a question of Dave Becken.
Well, since you're not actually running for this seat, what are you going to actually run for if you're here?
What am I going to run for? You mean what's next on my agenda? Is that what you're saying?
I'm assuming that you're here for a reason. Yeah. If you signed up for this process.
Truth be told, I was the first name on the list, and I was in such a tither to actually do something instead of sitting on the sidelines that I didn't think that Courtney Aron would be signing up, and so I just got a little bit ahead of myself. However, if you ask that question, if she is so nominated or selected, and her seat, I am in her district, and her seat becomes available, it is something that I'll look at very carefully.
I love the enthusiasm and the initiative. Thank you there, sir. Next up, we have Washington County to ask a question of Courtney Neron. Commissioner Snyder, would you like to do that, or would you like to take a pass for later?
I can ask Rep. Neron. I would like to hear your perspective on both the framework for transportation funding that the Democratic Party caucus has put forward, and also the alternative, perhaps I wouldn't call it a framework, but the recent funding plan that Republican members of the legislature have put forward. I'd like to hear what you think are the top 2 or 3 great ideas out of both of those, or out of the combination of both of those. And Chair Harrington, I would actually like to ask Councilor Shaw to respond to this question at some point as well, if that's possible. I'll just make that request. So Representative Neron, what are the best couple ideas out of those plans that you, and why?
Thanks for the question, Commissioner Snyder. The specific proposals I haven't studied in depth yet. We are running full-time, and I'm doing a lot with the education spaces. But what I have been doing is tracking what needs to be in that transportation package. So in terms of the proposals, I would say that it sounds like just a high level that there are some omissions from the Republican package that are critically important. I really do value the transit components of the transportation package, so I want to make sure that we are funding that. In terms of the proposal that the House Democrats are putting together and the Joint Committee on Transportation is putting together, what my role has been is to emphasize what I want in there. So I'm advocating for the Great Streets program, safe routes to school, making sure that we are prioritizing jurisdictional transfer, especially of Hall Boulevard, that we are investing in the West to Salem, that we are thinking about inclusive policies, making sure that our transportation system has multimodal investments. We've got to make sure that we're considering safety, maintenance, and operations, obviously at the core as a base, but then really making sure that when we divide up those funds, that 50-30-20 is present. So I'll be looking for that. I'm hearing, the emphasis on vehicle miles traveled, registration fees, but more important than that structure, or just as important, I would say, is that accountability that ODOT spend those dollars with transparency, and that we are able to really see that those projects are delivered on in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, so you can see we're being consistent in doing the candidate rotation. So next, is there a Clackamas County Commissioner who would like to ask a question of Jeanette Shaw? Go ahead, Chair Roberts.
Hi there. And again, thank you to each of the candidates for applying for this. And you all bring a tremendous amount of talent to the table. So thank you. You know, one of the questions I have, it's a loaded question because it's such a huge issue, and I'm not going to expect you to go into all the details, but I'd really like to understand your concept or thoughts around one of the big issues facing our entire state, and that is our homeless issue. And you can pick drug and alcohol addiction or mental illness, because I recognize that is a big subject, but kind of your thoughts on addressing that, and kind of from the state's perspective, kind of how you might be helpful in that role.
Certainly. Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. And maybe I'm going to truncate my answer, and then if I had time to also answer Commissioner Snyder's question. As far as the homeless, it's obviously a huge issue that's affected every area of Oregon. And there are several bills that we are looking at, whether it's HB 5011, which is really advocating for a comprehensive homeless response funding network, because we need to ensure that there are dollars coming from the state that can help the cities and the counties with homeless shelters and our response time. We're also looking at, what does baseline operational support look like? What does existing funding look like? Is there going to be additional shelter beds? We know the problem isn't decreasing, it's increasing. And so what can we do also around behavioral health and behavioral science, so we can ensure that they're getting the assistance they need, both from behavioral circumstances, but also from ensuring that there are beds, and then also building that pipeline so that there's affordable housing that they can then move into. And I work quite a bit with Community Warehouse, and once they have moved out of their kind of, in a way, low-income housing that has been in shelter, we then provide them with apartment housing and the furniture that they then could increase, and hopefully at that point we also help them with jobs, but become citizens that are, and community members that are no longer in need of those shelters. So definitely supportive of HB 5011 and also HB for the dollars, and we would like to see a minimum of $270 million to fund that program. And then also with regards to, if I have time, Chair Harrington, for answering the transportation question.
Well, hold on that. We're going to keep going with our commissioner rotation. So next we have the opportunity for Washington County Commissioner to ask a question of Courtney Neron. Who would like to jump into that from Washington County? No, looks like you're off the hook there. Oh, go ahead. Commissioner Willie, go ahead from Washington County.
Thank you. I'm just a little slow on the draw to find where you raise your hand at. So yeah, thank you very much for this question. I think my question, and what is kind of in front of us on a regular basis, is Senate Bill 696, which is the unemployment benefits for striking workers. That is a serious concern to us. Is that the right Senate bill number?
916 or 961, I can't remember.
Okay, sorry, that one.
916.
I'm a little dyslexic there. I almost got it in the right order. But I'm sure, Courtney, you know which one I'm talking about. So I would like to hear your perspective on that. Our concerns obviously are that our union contracts do not allow for the workers to go on strike, and this would circumvent that. And then we would have to replace those workers. And so it's not just the employment tax that is the concern, but is the replacement of workers to make sure that we can keep our jails open and a number of other public safety departments. So Where are you on that?
Thank you so much for the question, Commissioner Willie. Senate Bill 916 is one that I'm taking meetings on now, and I'm meeting with both advocates for and opponents. So really trying to learn about this bill holistically. I'm asking lots of questions. This bill is not in my committees, but I am hearing a lot about it from my community leaders and workforce, and in my conversations with you as commissioners, it's come up regularly. So I'm share some of the concerns that you're raising and really wanting to understand the intended consequences and unintended consequences of significant legislation like this. I haven't committed to voting one way or another, and I am hearing compelling arguments from both sides, but there does seem to be discrepancies in some of the information that we've been given. So I'm still asking questions. One of the concerns I have is just that I see and I believe that workers don't want to strike. As a teacher, I know teachers don't want to strike. When they do, it's very important to make sure that a community supports that action. And I do have concerns about how this bill could change the perception or the ability of a community to support workers taking that kind of action. I also believe that strikes are a symptom of an underfunded or imbalanced system. And so what I believe we need to be doing at the state level is focusing on ways to stabilize the systems, and our legislation needs to focus on policies that deliver on that stability.
Okay, so next up is Clackamas County, and the candidate is Mr. Backen. But given that Commissioner Savis has already asked Mr. Backen a question, I would ask Commissioner West or Commissioner Roberts, would you like to have your question addressed by, go ahead, Commissioner West. Oops.
Thank you. I think I'm here.
Yes.
Thank you. I think this is a really strong question for both. I know we're circling around. So often we are focusing on housing stabilization, and I know that Representative Neron is a huge proponent of housing stabilization. I think probably all of us on this call are. Can you tell me what you would do policy-wise to incentivize housing production at all levels, I mean, all types of housing, and not just affordable housing? We really do have a housing crisis. We all need all types at all levels. There's only 890 units being built in Portland this year. That's clearly a problem and not addressing the housing crisis effectively. What do we practically need to do? What's innovative that we need to do? What's different from the status quo to actually spur housing production so we can have enough homes for the people that live in our community?
Take it away, Mr. Backen.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner West. By the way, I just wanted to say to Commissioner King, I am serious. It's not that I'm not serious. I am serious. But anyway, Commissioner West, housing has been an ongoing issue for a long, long time. If we don't change the systems by which we build and the red tape and all the things that we have to do, I know some of it's there for a reason, and and I'm sure that there are good reasons for having that, but it takes so much time and so much money to build any kind of housing. And we need housing, as I think it was Councillor Shaw that said, but we need housing from the very beginning, transitional housing into low income housing. We have to have that kind of housing. And if we don't incent builders to build it, builders are in this to make money. They're not here just to be good. Some of them might have good units, but I work with folks all the time, contractors, electrical contractors. They're there to make money, and so they can pay their employees. So if we can't figure out a way to make it profitable for builders to build, then cities and counties and states aren't good builders. They're not. That's not what they do, and that's not what they should do. So we've got to make it profitable for those folks to be able to build that kind of housing that we need, and we need so much of it. We need from the very beginning, and So I think some of the things we're going to talk, I think I think in Wilsonville, you can build a small house, a small standalone in your backyard under 200 square feet. You don't have to have permits you don't have to have housing permits for that. You do have to have electrical, plumbing, and that kind of thing. So we've got to do some things like that. We've got to be able to fill in some of these areas. Now, I'm not saying we should go and turn all of our wetlands into housing, into places like that. It's got to be done carefully. We need to maintain green spaces. We need to maintain parks. And so I think a lot of the communities that have been built recently that have a lot of green spaces are good ways to go, but that's housing that is not at the level of affordable housing. And I do believe we've got to get there so all of the people in this state can afford housing. But there's a lot of other issues that go along with that. It's having jobs, it's workforce development, it's making sure that you can earn a reasonable wage to be able to afford housing. And so anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Dave Backen. Yamhill County, you're up next with Jeanette Shaw, and Commissioner Starrett asked Councillor Shaw a question earlier. So, Mr. King, would you like to ask a question of applicant Shaw, or the same one or a different one?
No, I have a different. Well, sure. I have a question that might be for both of you. Really, Oregon is, I think, 47 in education in the country. How do we start addressing that at your level?
Take it away, Jeanette.
Thank you, Commissioner King. Yes, it's a vexing question. I think there's several different reasons for that. One is, as you know, the property tax situation that we are in as a state, the fact that it is frozen and that we cannot increase it, I think does a huge disservice both to our counties, to our cities, and to our school districts. It ensures that we cannot fully fund what we need to from whether it's curriculum or infrastructure. And because of that, and I mentioned earlier, our infrastructure, we're looking at additional costs because, of the increased tariffs, and using homegrown products would be one avenue to actually answering that question. But we really need to ensure that with education, we can increase the dollars, but we also need to hold our administrators accountable and ensure that we're teaching the curriculum that is needed for our workforce. I also would suggest that we have career technical education as almost at the same level, because we know we have a shortage of whether it's going to be welders or plumbers or carpenters. And so I would like to see more of the educational dollars going into career technical education with, of course, the learning of the basics of English and math and communication. It would be vital for our state to ensure that we could build a productive workforce, so we can ensure that we reduce those who are potentially out of work. And I would argue that both career technical education and educational dollars would benefit again by changing our property tax rates. Thank you.
Well, don't go away. Ms. Shaw, you're in the hot seat again with Commissioner Snyder. You had a transportation question. Go for it.
Thank you. Yes. Councillor Shaw, do you want me to restate the question, or you? Okay, I'll restate it. So, both the Republican leaders in the state legislature and Democratic leaders have both provided a framework and or a plan that they see a road forward for funding transportation. I'd like to know from your perspective specifically what 2 or 3 ideas are the best out of each of those plans, and how would you see them moving forward and in a coherent manner? What kinds of things do you think are good out of those plans?
Great, thank you so much. As you know, Commissioner Snyder, Oregon is very dependent on transportation, and we are just a transit-dependent economy. We have close to 400,000 jobs that are related directly to whether it's transportation or rail or ports or roads. So from that perspective, we definitely, I would ensure and increase the fact that we have funding that would be a primary resource for state transportation infrastructure. I would look at various sources, whether it includes gas or diesel. There are proponents who want to have a additional gas tax or an electric vehicle tax or a weight mile tax or additional vehicle registration fees. If there are additional fees, I'd like to ensure that they're equitable and also ensure that the funds are distributed using the formula of a 50-30-20 model, with 50% going to the state, 30% going to the counties, and 20% to the cities. And definitely, I'd say I'd like to see both Safe Routes to Schools and the Great Streets programs invested in. With regards to the different plans, I think stabilizing funding for operations and maintenance is going to be vital for local governments, and ensuring that ODOT can indeed transfer our orphan highways such as Hall Boulevard with additional dollars to ensure that the asphalt that they haven't maintained over the last 20 years is actually included in those dollars. I'd like to see also the investment in transit and bike ped programs. I think that's vital when we have individuals who are perhaps coming out of homeless and houseless situations and cannot afford a vehicle, that they have that option. Also, with regards to safety and congestion management, that were, I think those need to be completed, that were part of the HB 2017 transportation package. And then in addition, I would like to ensure that we really, with regards to the social equity division, that we ensure that that program continues, because they do work with rural communities to protect resources and also provide services that need to be continued in order for those roads to be working well. So I'd like to make sure we have an urban and a rural plan with regards to transportation. And with regards to the Republican plan of what I might like, I had mentioned bicycle and pedestrian programs. That's one I would not like, but I think it's perhaps an idea to consider leasing a portion of ODOT's offices, though I would want to take a hard look at what that $55.9 million really is, because I think that is a very large number for savings that may not be in reality workable, particularly as we have a workforce that's going back into ODOT offices. Another part that the vehicle privilege tax, that's something as you know, Commissioner Sider, I'd worked on extensively in the HB 2017 package. I'd like to see perhaps a reallocation of those dollars, but ensuring that they are strategically planned. But that would be my thoughts with regards to both of the transportation plans.
Thank you.
Sorry, folks. Commissioner Savis, I don't know that you've had a chance to ask Courtney Neron your question on transportation. Would you like to give that a whirl?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Harrington, for that. Thank you, Representative Neron, for your service. I know that you've worked closely with our Clackamas caucus and others during the transportation discussions a couple years ago, and then some. As you know, HB 2017 had STIF funding, which was in order to get the votes in the state legislature, as I understand it, was that it required a number of legislators wanted to make sure that new service to areas that didn't receive service was somehow accommodated as a core mission of the STIF funding. You also know that every employee in the state of Oregon, out of their paycheck now, pays a portion towards transit, and that the ask from the transit agencies is a fourfold increase in the STIF funding. While I do know and recognize that more money for everyone would be, would help improve transit, and I also recognize that, that's just another impact to households and families. So I see really, frankly, maybe a compromise somewhere in between, but more, especially on policy, not about asking for more money, a policy that ensures that households who do not receive service today have service. And I do know, unfortunately, Wilsonville is not the best example because Wilsonville has excellent transit service. Every household in
You
Wilsonville
get to
has.
the question, please.
Yes, there is. So my question is, recognizing that most of Wilsonville suburban and a lot of Clackamas County suburban, how do we solve that problem for the remainder of the suburban areas in Clackamas County who receive no service but yet pay?
This is a really important question. Thank you, Commissioner Savas. The STIF funding is something that I've been learning more and more about with regards to those service to those homes. And as you know, and as you stated, thank you, kind of laid out the answer. Wilsonville has been delivering transportation to each of our homes. I live in a new neighborhood, Villebois, and have 4 bus stops within a 2-minute walk of my house in different directions. There is a need in the outer southwest suburban communities for transportation opportunities in our new neighborhoods. That said, as you've described, the STIF funds are not structured in such a way currently. The distribution is not getting to the entities that would need to be able to be delivering that. So I am hearing the conversation, especially in Clackamas County, is heated. I really want to make sure that we are investing in STIF funding so that we can deliver to an individual to their home. I have tried to figure out if that could be in the transportation package. It is my understanding that it could happen after this particular legislative session, that we solve for the particular question that you're asking. But I do believe that we need to make sure that we have transportation infrastructure funding, and that it is getting to the cities that are utilizing it and to the entities that are delivering those last mile and to the homes and the neighborhoods services. There's a lot of frustration around that topic in Clackamas County. I'm leaning in. Senator Woods and I introduced a bill around STIF funding, but in the interest of making sure that we're valuing it in our transportation package, I'm looking at potentially picking up that conversation after session, and would be happy to work with you on it.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson from Yamhill County, would you like to ask Mr. Backen your question, or your prior question, or a new question?
I'm going to go new question. If you are seated as the replacement for Aaron Wood's seat, what is your support for finishing started transportation projects that have been lingering for decades? And my exact example for our area will be the Newburgh-Dundee bypass.
I thought that Newburgh-Dundee bypass was going to be great. And anyway, I'm certainly at a disadvantage from both Representative Neron and Councillor Shaw, who have been more involved in these types of things. But what I would say in general, transportation funding, along with, as I said before, along with all these other fundings, there has to be priorities, and we've got to figure out how to fund what first, how much to fund each of these things. And so it's very complicated, as you all know. And so what I would say about unfunded or unfinished, transportation projects, we've either got to figure out how to close them out and not spend any more, although closing them out is probably going to spend some money on that, or figure out how to fund them to finish them off. And maybe there's a compromise solution in there that we finish them off partially or something like that. I don't think we should let any kinds of projects out there linger and go unfinished. We should figure out how to finish them, either by finishing them actually, or closing them out in some way that makes sense, both for the communities that it impacts and for the state of Oregon via dollars spent.
Thank you. As you can tell, I'm trying to keep it fresh compared to our usual ask one question here, three candidate answers at once. So at this juncture, Chair Roberts, you're up next. And I realized that you asked your prior question of Jeanette Shaw. Do you have a question you might like to address to Courtney Neron or Dave Becken?
Yes, thank you. I'll have this for Courtney. Courtney, really, you've been in Salem for a number of years now, and I guess I'd like to hear from you kind of what bills or a bill that you really are most proud of and some of the challenges that you overcome to really get some difficult bills passed. So I'd kind of like to hear about some of your work there.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Roberts. Yeah, it's been an honor to serve these 4 terms, and what motivated me to run for office in the first place was my own classroom, right? Each class is kind of like a microcosm of society, and understanding that my students were facing homelessness, that they needed more learning resources than the schools were able to provide, that the state had never fully funded its own vision and expectations for our education system, that school safety was something that was causing anxiety for students and teachers. There were so many things that motivated me to run. So in terms of a topic area, my work in education is something that I'm really proud of. We have a lot more work to do, as Commissioner King touched on. I am really proud of the special education bills that we have currently in the legislature. Lifting the cap on special education is incredibly important to all of the communities in Oregon, and making sure that we're funding and distributing the funds to districts according to the need of the students is very important to me. I am hopeful that with a revenue forecast, we'll find that we can advance that work. Also fully funding our high cost disability fund for students that need one-on-one support or behavioral health support. Early interventions and early childhood special education is something that I'm advocating for, making sure that we are investing early in those earliest years of education are critical to making sure that we're setting students up for success, whether that's for literacy or behavioral health as well, making sure we're wrapping around students with youth mental health challenges. But I'll say that I'm also really hopeful about the current service level calculation work that I've done in past sessions. And this session, we've got that bill now to Ways and Means. I'm hopeful that it comes out with the state school fund and that we are stabilizing the calculation, because the way that we calculate the dollars matters. And it's essentially a math problem that we've been doing wrong. So we finally this session are getting that one some wind in its sails. I also just want to address the civil liberties that came up. I really believe that every student should have the right to learn to read and have access to education. So I think about making sure that we are wrapping around students, meeting them where they are, ensuring that we're getting them into their career, their chosen career, investing in P20, right? Early childhood through career, apprenticeship programs, higher education as well. But our K-12 system is where I've done the most work, and making sure we're ensuring dollars get to the classroom and that those school districts are accountable. We have a lot of local control, and Oregon's proud of its local control. So the dance that we do with local and state resources is important to consider, and finding the thread of how we hold the local entities, the local school boards making important decisions accountable for investing in things that will move the dial is something that we are dialing in on a lot this session. House Bill 2805, House Bill 2009 have been a core focus of my time this session.
Thank you, Ms. Neron. Commissioner Sterrett, would you like to ask a question of either candidate Becken or candidate Neron?
Thank you so much. I would like to ask Representative Neron a question, and that is that we just heard about the largest, what they're calling the largest fentanyl drug bust in DEA history. We had $5 million in cash, enormous cache of weapons, more fentanyl than they have ever gotten together, 55,000 hours of law enforcement time involved. And the independent pharmaceutical representative who was sharing this drug in our communities was living in Salem. I believe he's now or has been housed at FCI in our county. We know that that Oregon is holding fast to the sanctuary state policy, and that the federal government has said that they're pushing back. This is going to impact our OHA money that comes for HHS programs, for law enforcement, for just about everything that federal money touches at the county level. And I know you know it's significant. It's I would just say virtually all of it, except for 17% of property taxes. So that being said, what would your perspective be if you were in the legislature and at the Senate side when it comes to us, the counties, looking at the state saying, if you're going to hold the line, then we're the ones who are going to have to figure out how to provide these services. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the question is around my perspective on holding the line for current policies. I just appreciate the question. I want to start though with the fact that you indicated just such a devastating fentanyl epidemic has hit the communities that you serve. And I really do care about making sure that we have the proper resources and that we're addressing fentanyl from fentanyl education in our schools. And we passed that bill in a previous session, to making sure that there is recovery and making sure that we've addressed the ability for law enforcement to act when they know that there is fentanyl and that there is a need to respond. I think in terms of what the policies are in the state, the one that you're talking about is also something that the voters have supported as well. So it would be very important for us to make sure that we are having critically important conversations around, and this kind of goes back to civil liberties, a justice system that is stable and the backbone for our democracy right now, making sure that we have systems in place to support community members. And in terms of the tether to of these two topics together, I'm not quite sure of the situation, but I can go look it up and understand it further. I definitely believe that people in Oregon need to have access to, you know, a fair trial, and make sure that we have that we're upholding the laws that are currently on the books.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, Washington County. I saw Commissioner Treese, you had your hand raised. You had previously asked a question of Jeanette Shaw. So hopefully we'll give Courtney Neron a break, but we shall see. Who would you like to address your question to?
Well, I'll ask the question of, I did ask previously for Jeanette. I think, Courtney, could you take a deep breath while I'm asking the question so you're ready? The flavored tobacco bill will be coming to the Senate soon, potentially coming to the Senate. It seems likely that that will occur. What will your position be on that bill?
Thank you, Commissioner Treese. My understanding is that there is an amendment for that flavored tobacco bill. I haven't read the amendment yet, but my understanding is that some of the opposition is more calm now. I would need to read the amendment and understand the bill if I am appointed to the Senate position, I would absolutely get up to speed as quickly as possible on the bills that are being considered by the Senate. As you can imagine, I've been focusing on the many House bills up to this point, but that would be one that I am supportive of the changes that I've heard about. I would want to read the amendment, but I'm hearing that it is getting it to a better place.
Yes, the amendment would allow it to be sold in LCC locations. So thank you for your response. I appreciate it. And I wanted to interject a public health question. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you both. We're going to do another round of questions in the order of Yamhill County, Clackamas County, and whoops, I got that rotation a little wrong. Yamhill County, Washington County, and then Clackamas County. So, commissioners, I'm just going to open up the floor for each of you counties and see who wants to ask which candidate a question. Yamhill County, who wants to go?
Yeah, Chair Johnston here. Question for Courtney. With our last September, when we were reforming Measure 110 and we stood up our deflection centers, we see that there's not as many people as anticipated taking advantage of getting clean. Would you support a full repeal of Measure 110? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Johnston. I would not support a full repeal of Measure 110, but we did have a very robust bipartisan process, I believe last session, that had bipartisan support and passed so that we could make sure that there was a better path forward, essentially amending what voters passed to be in line with what the voters passed, but still serving the communities with that core understanding that there is a need for recovery services, and that we have to make sure that individuals be held accountable for their behavior, and that we have pathways to successful recovery.
Thank you.
Okay, Washington County Commissioner Willie, you're up next. Which candidate would you like to direct your question to?
I think I'm going to direct this to Courtney, and just a little quick add-on to Commissioner Johnston. I wish you would have asked the question that if, since legislature wanted us to do the deflection program, that they would have fully funded it and not left us with a bill to fund what services are necessary. But that's not my question. I'm going to switch. Questions, topics to our forest. As you know, we are a member of the trust lands for the state with 15 counties. I'm on the board of the Council of Forest Trust Lands. We've been trying to work with the Board of Forestry and ODF on the Habitat Conservation Plan, and lost that. So now we are trying to get the ODF, the Oregon Department of Forestry, to prepare a 10-year sustainable forest projection for forest harvest. Specifically, Tillamook and Clatsop counties are significantly impacted by this Habitat Conservation Plan and the reduction in harvest. And as a minimum, a 10-year projection would at least be able to help them and us. Washington County is third in that, in doing their budgets and how they're going to pay their bills. So where do you stand on that?
Where do I stand on a 10-year projection?
Well, it's House Bill 3103.
I appreciate the question. I can I'd be happy to have a longer conversation and dive into that specific House bill with you. This is one that it sounds like you're an expert on. As you can imagine, we have so many bills, and we need to make sure that we're dialing in on each of them as they come before us. So the 10-year projection sounds interesting. I think I could take a stand on it right now. I'd like to deliberate, have a few meetings about it, really understand it before I let you know my stance on it. But I'd be happy to have conversations with you and advocate. One of the things I really pride myself on is when my constituents and the local leaders that I serve with come to me with priorities, I lean in, I understand if this is, the district that I represent's view. And if I believe that it's one that I need to make sure that I'm also elevating, and I try to make sure that behind the scenes and in front of the scenes that I push where needed, so that the policies that my constituents care about and the people that I serve with are prioritized. So I'd be happy to have more conversations with you about that, so I can learn about that specific area of expertise you're emphasizing.
Thank you. I will certainly make sure that you get a good education.
Thank you.
So I realize that we have 3 candidates. We have 3 commissions, 2 with 3 commissioners and 1 with 5 of us, but I'm skipping my opportunity to ask questions tonight because I think your questions are really interesting. And all of the Yamhill, Clackamas commissioners have each had the opportunity to ask 2 different questions. Similarly with my 3 of my 4 colleagues on the Washington County Commission. So I'm going to pull a fast one here and see, Commissioner Fye, do you have a question that you would like to ask one of our other candidates other than Dave Beckett?
No, Chair Harrington, I'll follow your lead, and no questions. I think it's been a good discussion so far, and I think a lot of questions have been asked of the candidates. And I really appreciate the thoughtful answers that you all gave, and the depth of knowledge that you bring here to these many different subjects, especially a district that crosses 3 different counties who have different opinions about what's going on in Salem. So I really appreciate everything that I've heard so far. And to Dave, even to your questions, I know you threw your hat in support behind Representative Neron, but I really appreciate the level of perspective and the nuances that followed, and the depth of knowledge that you brought here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let me check in with each of the county commissions. You've each had the opportunity to ask questions of at least 2 different candidates. First, for Clackamas County, are there any commissioners who would like to have one last crack at candidates? Go ahead, Commissioner West. I'm intending this will be the last round per commission.
Yeah, this is my last question. It's for Representative Neron. It's the same question I asked last time. So I'll just ask it again. So we are very focused on housing stabilization. You're a huge proponent of that. Can you tell me what you're doing to incentivize housing production at all levels besides developing just affordable housing, which is also important? There are only 890 units being built in Portland this year. Clearly, that's a significant problem, not meeting the crisis that we face. That is my question for you, Representative Neron.
Thank you so much, Commissioner West. Yes, I absolutely agree. Housing, homelessness, they are impacting every community across the state, including our own House and Senate districts. What I am doing in terms of incentivizing housing at all levels, one of the things that I'm very aware of is that in order to provide affordable housing, we have to make sure that we are helping communities put the infrastructure into the ground that will deliver that affordable product, that above ground. So there is a, I never remember if it's 3636 or 3939, but there's a bill that Representative Elmer has been working on. It's kind of a 2.0. She has been working on with cities smaller than 50,000 who have approved projects inside the UGB, and what they need is that infrastructure to deliver the housing. So I've encouraged my communities to apply for that. I believe Wilsonville Wilsonville is working now on getting some infrastructure dollars so that we can put pipes in the ground, so we can put things in the ground to deliver the housing. So delivering the housing requires that investment in the infrastructure, and I believe the state can play a role in making sure we're able to provide that. So really want to appreciate that partnership. And then also making sure that we are looking at not only, as you said, building new and building missing inventory, really, and different communities have different missing inventory, but that we are preserving affordable housing. And one of the things I'm doing right now is working with our manufactured home communities to make sure that as the cost of the rent of the land that they're on rises, that they are not destabilized. Some of our most at risk of housing and homelessness are our vulnerable seniors on fixed income. And many of them are homeowners who have their homes, manufactured homes on land where the rent is rising exponentially. And they're very destabilized by this because their own income is not rising at the same rate. So really looking at what we can do to serve those communities and those community members. So I believe in not only building and constructing the missing inventory, but on preserving the affordable housing that we do have. That said, there are a lot of different ways that we can provide housing, and the different delivery models are all very fascinating and definitely serve a wide variety of our constituents. I've invested in the transit-oriented development in Wilsonville in the ground floor, where we'll have the food pantry and the Wilsonville community sharing, as well as public safety and a welcome center for the transit. And then we also have invested $12 million in the apartments near Mountainside High School to make sure that they are able to deliver universal design, accessible to people with mobility challenges, and that they're deeply affordable, connecting to parks, city services, transit, as we've mentioned, making sure that our communities are connected and that housing that we're delivering is responsive to what each community needs.
Okay, so we're coming into the home stretch, folks. We just have a couple more questions from a couple commissions before we move to the 2-minute closing remarks. So Yamhill County Commissioners, is there one last question of one last commissioner that from one last commissioner that you want to try to ask?
What would be the support question for Courtney? Support for ADUs on EFU and forestry zonings. I know in years past that the state has allowed the cities to allow ADUs for our county would be on rural residential in the cities within their city limits. What would your support be behind allowing ADUs for EFU zoning and forestry? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I would need to continue learning more about the specifics of what you're proposing. It sounds like if it is needed housing and if there's a barrier to housing, that we need to look at removing barriers right now in the state of Oregon. One of the bills that I liked that was a creative solution, and it sounds like what you're proposing is a fairly straightforward creative solution. But one of the bills that I appreciated in past sessions was making sure that we, if somebody rented out existing infrastructure, existing bedrooms in their home, for example, that the rent that they collected from that renter was not something that was taxed if that renter was able to rent for less than $1,000. So the home share bill is one that I think is a creative solution. What you're talking about sounds like another opportunity to provide housing in some of our communities where it might be most necessary and it could be a solution. I would need to continue learning more about the specific proposal, though, that you are mentioning, and I would be happy to meet with you and talk more about it.
Okay, is there one last question from one of the Washington County Commissioners who has not chosen to pass? Okay, great. Well, then we can move on to closing remarks. This is an opportunity for each candidate to provide closing remarks for up to 2 minutes. And the order tonight will be Jeanette Shaw first, followed by Courtney Neron, followed by Dave Becken. So Ms. Shaw, could you take it away, please?
Certainly. Thank you so much. And thank you again for the opportunity to interview for Senate District 13. I appreciate the process and the thoughtful questions asked of us tonight. I have lots of answers I wasn't able to give, so perhaps we can have another forum at some point. I'm ready to get to work right away on the toughest challenges that's facing Washington, Clackamas, and Yamhill counties and statewide, whether it's transportation, housing production, economic and workforce development, and technology, which of course is in a very tight budget environment. As a city councilor, I understand what residents and businesses are struggling with, both in Tigard but throughout our region. I am ready to represent everyone in Senate District 13 to create the Oregon that they deserve. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and I'm asking for your vote so that I can carry forward the legacy of Senator Woods in fighting for a bright, strong, and equitable future for Senate District 13 and for all Oregonians. Thank you.
Thank you. You're up next, Courtney Neron. 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Commissioners, thank you again for your time and for the care that you are bringing to this decision. You are not just choosing a legislator, you are choosing a partner and someone who cares and someone who understands that policy passed in Salem impacts our counties, our cities, our schools, our homes, and our future. And I've earned the trust of local and state leaders because I listen, I follow through, and I know how to navigate the system to get things done. Whether it's securing $139 million for the Clackamas County Courthouse and doing the same wholly in Washington, strong relationships are core, strategic thinking, bipartisan partnerships, and the persistence to move shared priorities forward. I bring all of that to the table. Let's build a new courthouse, ensure supportive housing, responsibly build missing housing inventory, invest in the infrastructure in the ground to ensure it's affordable, pass a transportation package that delivers for our communities, build resilient infrastructure, and expand mental health services, especially for our youth, as we improve safety. If you appoint me to the Senate, you won't have to wonder where I stand or whether I'll be effective. I'll bring heart, diplomacy, and discipline to the role. I'll work every day to honor the trust of this district and ensure that the policies we pass reflect the needs, values, and financial realities of the communities we serve. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm ready to lead and I'm ready to deliver.
Thank you. Mark Becken, 2 minute closing remarks.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for taking your time out and for the opportunity to talk with you this evening. I have learned a lot, and it has been very enlightening. We all understand that there are significant challenges facing each of us, our districts, the constituents we serve, and Senate District 13. I care deeply for people, for public service, and for the constituents which I've served in my variety of different positions, and would continue to do so in this position with all my power and abilities to represent the people. Again, I do support Representative Neron for this position because I think she is the best person for this position. But I do thank you for your time and for the opportunity to be here with you. Thank you.
And thank you. So next, I have a statement to read. Before we begin our deliberations, I want to share that each Washington County Commissioner has 15.8 votes. Each Clackamas County Commissioner has 4 votes, and each Yamhill County Commissioner has 0.3 votes. So as determination goes, I want to really thank the Yamhill County Commission, the three of you for attending tonight, as well as the three from the Clackamas County Commission, a great investment of your time. So the person receiving the highest number of votes tonight will be the person selected to fill the vacancy for Senate District 13. So we can now move into deliberations, which means discussion and comment. And at some point, I would be asking to see if we have a motion to appoint any one specific candidate as the Senate designee for State Senate District 13. The floor is open to commissioners, that is. Go ahead, Commissioner West.
I'm going to I think I know who I'm going to support. I really do appreciate everybody's involvement tonight and taking the time out. I have to say, working with Courtney Neron has been a pleasure. There's bills that we worked on to help children in foster care specifically that she helped us get over the finish line. Though we may have some policy disagreements, she is available. She has acutely aware of the issues, especially in Clackamas County, that we face. She takes my calls. We have long, productive conversations, and I would call her a friend. And so though the other candidates, I appreciate all of your time and effort and putting yourself forward. And to Counselor the Tiger, I really appreciate you great answers. I think that you showed yourself to be a pragmatic centrist that could really continue to be a benefit to your community and public service. But today I am going to be casting my vote for Courtney Neron.
Commissioner Fye, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Councilor Shaw, Mr. Beckham, and Representative Courtney Neron, thank you for your time, your dedication, and to your leadership throughout our county and counties. I really appreciate all the answers that you gave. I really deeply do mean that, and really appreciate the thought that you put in to come to know Washington County and reach out to us and also try to understand what are some burning challenges or some concerns that we have and how you can address that. To me tonight, this has been when you have a state legislature, accessibility, listening, and being available to see your county is an important criteria for me. Yes, I know legislators are really busy, but as county commissioners, we need policymakers in Salem that really listens, that really shows up for our community. And while you're not going to get a yes all the time or even half the time, but it's really good to have somebody that has that sympathetic ear to say, I care about your county. I care about the residents that elected you to represent and to pass issues that is going to impact them positively. And for me, Courtney Neron, you've been that leader in Oregon. Anytime we have had issues in Washington County, you picked up the phone and reached out. I won't forget, we've had an early breakfast in one of our far away buildings. And I say far away, even though I live in Aloha, and the building was, I think, in Forest Grove, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or past Cornelius. And you showed up, you were there, our breakfast. And I remember, I know I shouldn't be surprised because legislators are there where they're needed most. But I remember feeling, oh, wow, you're here. And I think that's exactly how I greeted you. And I feel sorry about that. I apologize, but I really was surprised, and I was really inspired by your presence. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the work you're going to continue to do in Salem. And tonight I will be voting for Representative Miron to be appointed to the Senate seat and to continue to do the good work you've been doing. And yeah.
Commissioner Johnston.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we appoint Courtney Neron to the vacated Senate seat.
Starrett seconds.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners who would like to make any additional comments now that we have a motion? Commissioner Willie? Yep, you're finding the mute. I get it, the unmute.
Yeah, iPads are not Zoom friendly. You know, Courtney, I appreciate the work you do in the House, and I appreciate your tenure there. I'm looking to this for actually a twofer, because I'd like you to stay in the House because you have experience there, and because we need your voice there, but you're one of many voices, and so it's very difficult, and we need some tenure there. In regards to Councilor Shaw, I like her economic development background and a little bit more of a moderate personality, a moderate political policy. And our Senate and our House are both supermajorities, and that does not lend to democracy to me. And that's not your problem. I realize that, but I would like to find a little bit more moderate balance in both of those, the House and the Senate. So for me, just a second. For me, I would like to see Councilor Shaw in the Senate position and you stay in the House position. To me, that's a twofer. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other commissioner comments? Okay, I would like to make mine, and that is I appreciate all three candidates for stepping forward and providing your willingness to serve our community, but also being so generous with your time and your grace through the application vetting process. This is, I think, our 19th. Anyway, one of these appointments. We've done a lot of these. 9 since 2020. And I've come to appreciate in watching and partnering with the state legislature in my over 18 years as a local elected official, the speed of which the legislature needs to do its work, but also the careful consideration and time that it takes. Mr. Bakken, thank you for your energy and your commitment. I hope you will continue in your endeavor to be active in governmental positions through elections. Councilor Shaw, you've got great experience, and I would love to see more local government experience in the state legislature. But I can't resist the opportunity to support the motion to appoint current Representative Courtney Neron to the Senate, given where we find ourselves, as well as her track record of service to this, at least half of this Senate district and all of her skills there. So I will be supporting the motion. So I didn't, okay. Instead of my going last, Commissioner Treese.
I'm sorry, I was struggling to find my raised hand button. I apologize, Chair. I would like to make some comments, and that is that when I look at these appointments, I take into consideration 3 different pieces. The first being what our PCPs bring forward, and I appreciate the PCP work, and I recognize that Courtney had, or Rep. Neuron had the PCP support. I look at the comments that I get both prior to this evening and also throughout this evening with the testimonials. And then I listen very closely to your answers and to your presentations this evening. I will say that Dave Backen, it's good to see you again. And it's nice to know that the Civic Corps alumni keep moving forward here. Councillor Shaw, thank you so much for your willingness to put yourself out there, for your position around business related issues, for your work around economic development, transportation, and that piece that's very important to me. I will be casting my vote in support of Rep. Neuron, and I want to say that I do understand what our Commissioner Willie was saying about making sure that our businesses are represented. So as I cast my vote, Rep. Neuron, if you are the successful candidate here, I'd ask you to consider making sure that you are always focused on economic development and the economic strength of our state and our county. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Sterrett, I see your hand. We do have a motion and a second, but if you have some additional comments, or perhaps you were going to call the question.
You took the words right out of my mouth, so let's get to it. Thank you.
Great, great. So we have a motion and a second to appoint Courtney Neuron as the Senate designee for State Senate District 13. Clerk Moss, could you take the roll, please?
Certainly, Chair Harrington. Commissioner Sterrett?
Aye.
Commissioner King?
Aye.
Chair Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas? Do you cast your vote, Commissioner Savas?
Aye, I'm sorry.
Yep. Thank you. Chair Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
Commissioner Willie?
No.
Commissioner Fye?
Aye.
Commissioner Treese?
Aye.
Chair Harrington?
Yes. So I'm not the fastest when it comes to math in my head. So, but I can tell you that Courtney Neuron has succeeded in this appointment process with 76.1 votes, if I did the math right. And I know Clerk Moss will double check that for me. Clerk Moss, could you please read the appointment statement?
Certainly, Chair Harrington. Before the Clackamas, Washington, Yamhill County Board of Commissioners in the matter of filling a vacancy in Legislative Assembly, State Senate District 13, whereas in accordance with the procedures established by the Secretary of State, the Clackamas, Washington, and Yamhill County Board of Commissioners considered the nominations at a public meeting on May 7th, 2025, and whereas at the conclusion of the public meeting, the appointing authority voted to appoint Courtney Neuron to fill the vacancy, said nominee have receiving the highest number of votes, as indicated in the vote tabulation attached in Exhibit A. Now, therefore, Courtney Neuron is selected as the appointee to fill the vacancy in Legislative Assembly, State Senate District 13. This statement shall promptly be sent to the Secretary of State required by ORS 171.060, Subchapter 3, adopted the 7th day of May 2025.
Which just means that all 3 county commissions will once again be gathering to move forward once the Secretary of State sends us notice to work on a House District 26 appointment. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you again. Congratulations to you, Courtney Neron. Thank you again to Jeanette Shaw and Dave Backen. As I mentioned earlier, very much appreciate all three of you stepping forward to serve the community, as well as gifting us your time, your energy, and your grace in going through this process. And as there is no other business before us tonight, I would like to also express my thanks to the Clackamas, Yamhill, and Washington County Commissioners for being here tonight and sticking through this entire process, including my annoying rotation of questions, just trying to keep it fresh. But I also want to thank Board Clerk Moss, Ms. Duke Dreesen, our IT team, as well as our communications team, who've all put work into putting this meeting together for us tonight. And without further ado, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations, Courtney.
Thank you,
Nice work.
everyone. I appreciate it.